Hi guys, and welcome to episode 84 of Radio Gorepress. I am Rosie. With me as ever are my intrepid co-hosts Sarah and Phil.
Hello.
How you doing, guys?
I'm alright. I'm not feeling super intrepid currently.
Can you pretend?
I don't know. I feel like intrepid sort of is applied to like travellers of the world, and given that I haven't actually left my house in weeks, this is the least intrepid I have been in quite some time.
You've been to your office, therefore you are more intrepid than I am.
I mean, we're all pretty extrepid at the moment, I think.
This is true.
Is
untrepid.
Is that extrepid?
We are untrepid.
Definitely isn't a word, but
they're both words
hi
now.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 84 of Radio Gorepress. And my name's Rosie, and I'm here with my untrepid co-host.
Already better.
Stay at home, Sarah, and
Ooh.
don't go out, Phil.
That's going to stick now.
Yep. Don't go out, Phil.
Don't go out, Phil.
The
Don't
first
do it.
P is silent.
like the P in Stephen. Stephen. We've got a cracker of a show lined up for you today, but as ever, just wanted to spend a couple of minutes talking about the various stuff that we have to offer you. So if you love what we do, and we obviously love what we do, then any social media presence you can give us, like shares, reviews, anything like that is always like so top notch. It means the absolute world to us, and it really helps get the good name of Radio Gorepress out there. If you want to go a little step further, then we've also got a Patreon and a Ko-fi. Ko-fi's for like just one-off tips. That would also be really helpful for our hosting. We've got Redbubble for merch. We've got all of our social medias. You just search for Radio Gorepress and we will pop up.
Not literally.
No, that'd be terrifying.
Can you imagine?
Like saying Radio Gorepress 3 times and we'll just appear in the mirror and be nerdy at you.
Hi, love.
Oh, God. If I say your name in the mirror 3 times, will you appear?
Yes. Being extra northern.
I am on it. I'm doing it. I miss you.
Put one in Thor. We're burning ban.
For any of our American listeners, I don't know what that means either, so really sorry.
I mean,
I think it means shut the door.
It does. Put one in Thor. Yeah. Literally nobody in the North says that, by the way.
No, they only say it on like Hovis adverts and like shows about Yorkshire tea.
Yes.
Shows about Yorkshire tea.
Of which there are many.
Oh.
Last of the Summer Tea.
The Antiques Roadshow.
God.
There's 2 already.
Oh, God. You know it's a bad pun if Phil's saying God.
If Phil groans, we're all done for.
Are there any Midland... I guess you're not really Midlands, are you? You're Lower Midlands, aren't you, Phil?
I mean, I was born in Leicester. That's pretty Midlandsy.
Are there any odd turns of phrases that you know of?
Not particularly.
Oh, boring.
Uninspiring. I know.
Midlands is really boring. But Midlands has got black country accents, haven't they? Like Birmingham and etc. Mm-hmm. They say a lot of weird shit, but I can't remember any of it.
That's a rather sweeping generalisation.
To be honest, I'm not even sure if it's a dialect or if they just say weird shit.
Brummies talk a lot of shit, don't they?
Now, I said weird shit. I didn't say a lot of shit. You want to be careful about how you're using my wording.
I mean, the great debate, really, though, as far as you're concerned, is what people call woodlice, right?
Oh, monkey peas.
What the fuck is a monkey pea? I've never heard that term before, and I think you've made it up.
I haven't.
A monkey
peas, they're a
pea.
thing. Yeah, a monkey pea.
Dissect that phrase.
So, it's like a monkey, but it's shaped like a pea.
So,
I don't know what's difficult to understand about that.
The funny thing about that is I've never heard the phrase monkey pea before, but hearing it, I would know exactly what you were referring to.
Would you?
If I said there is a bug, look at that monkey pee, you'd be like, oh, obviously I cannot think of anything else that could be about a woodlouse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but like,
But
what about like tiny armadillo? That describes them better.
it would just make me think of dime bars, honestly. 2 armadillos.
That's very English.
This is very English. The West Country call them cheesy bugs.
Why?
I don't know. I wouldn't know what a cheesy bug was if somebody asked me to describe one.
You think
apart
there
from
are so
smells
many?
bad.
You think there are so many strange northernisms? Yeah, I grew up calling them woodlice. Believe it or not.
Darling, some of the things that you say aren't northernisms, though. They're Sarah-isms. They're like
no,
Norisms.
they're my mummisms.
Like putting your child in a lobster pot.
That was a thing, I swear to God.
That's not a thing!
It was a thing.
Sarah was telling me a story about how when she was young, her mum used to put her in the lobster pot and then go do something else. And I was like, what the fuck
I went
is
in the
going
lobster
on?
pot and I watched Pigeon Street. What's wrong there? What's the problem?
Nothing about that sentence is right. But a lobster pot is
It's just like
it's a playpen.
Like I was about to say, a baby cage.
A baby cage. Brilliant. It is baby prison.
I couldn't think of the right word. Baby cage, lobster pot.
Yeah, lobster pot. Have you ever put your child in a lobster pot, Phil?
I mean, yes, if that's what it means.
Have you called
We do call it baby jail, though, so...
Baby jail. Yeah, baby jail I can do with. Yeah. Don't know, wow. You were calling it a baby cage. Anyway.
Well, all I'm going to say is I turned out just fine, so there's no need to worry, Phil.
I feel like that is a point that we should discuss later in a more private manner.
Perhaps.
Yeah, on to this week's show, because we could literally spit rubbish for the next hour and not
easily
get on with it. Yeah, without a doubt. We still need to be picking shows that we can all watch, we all have access to,
yes.
whether that's on DVD or Amazon or Netflix or whatever. And I noticed that Videodrome had popped up on Netflix. I don't know how long it's been up there for. I think it's pretty recent. Not the film, obviously. Cronenberg classic.
Yes.
I had never seen it before.
Of course.
Shut up. Had you seen it before, Phil?
Yes, I had.
When? I want receipts.
I a while ago.
Time,
I couldn't
date.
tell you the exact date. No, I'm sorry.
Ugh.
But I...
Well,
Then it didn't happen.
did you watch it with your parents?
Oh, good.
And Sarah, obviously, you've seen this before.
Yes, but not for a very long time.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of fell out of the realms of being like such a cult classic. Like, I feel like it's kind of been sitting there in the background for a while, but nobody's really talked about it for ages.
In certain circles, yes, but definitely not mainstream movie fans, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certain people who have a lot of love for this film and actually hold it in really high regard, despite it bombing at the time.
Yeah, I read that.
I mean, the one thing I will say about it off the bat is that it's very, very Cronenberg-y.
I would 100% agree with that, and I would say it is him at his Cronenbergiest.
Maximum over Cronenberg.
Yes.
Like, he took what it is to be Cronenberg and just fucking ran with it.
Which is weird, actually, because, like, without getting too far ahead of myself, this is the sort of thing that has become synonymous with David Cronenberg. But if you actually look at his back catalogue, he sort of accidentally became famous for the body horror subgenre, and actually he's not done a huge amount of it, which interests me.
I mean, it strikes me that his thing is much more sort of psychological based than...
Oh, yeah, like psychosexual body horror stuff. Yeah, 100%.
I think the last Cronenberg film that we covered was the Dead Zone.
Yeah, you guys did that without me. That sounded really accusatory. I didn't mean it to.
You guys did that without me.
Without me.
You didn't even fucking tell me. You just went ahead and did it.
What, and then went, oh, we've uploaded a show. Get fucked, Sarah.
That's how I remember it going down. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that's probably what happened. I was incredibly surprised to see Debbie Harry.
Yeah. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, do you want me to do
read a synopsis?
The synopses.
The synopsis. Yes, please.
Okay. So, as the president of a trashy TV channel, Max Wren is desperate for a new programming to attract viewers. When he happens upon Videodrome, a TV show dedicated to gratuitous torture and punishment, Max sees a potential hit and broadcasts the show on his channel. However, after his girlfriend auditions for the show and never returns, Max investigates the truth behind Videodrome and discovers that the graphic violence may not be as fake as he thought.
Because it's not
It's
fake.
not.
Spoilers.
I mean, I think now is probably the time to say we are going to spoiler the heck out of this film, as we are wont to do. So if you haven't seen it yet, maybe watch it and come back.
I think the best time to tell people we were going to spoiler it was about 10 seconds ago.
Potentially. I mean, well, we haven't talked about anything that IMDb wouldn't tell you so far, right?
Yeah,
We're good.
Let's go with fine. It's fine. So yeah, Debbie Harry. Wasn't expecting that. Has Debbie Harry done a lot of acting?
She hadn't at that point. Apparently,
Right.
this was one of her earlier roles, and apparently she learnt loads from James Woods, and she was convinced to dye her blonde hair red for the role.
Yes. I've got things to say about that. I thought that she was very good.
She was, yeah.
Not in a kind of like groundbreaking, this is the best artistic representation of XYZ ever. Like she didn't like rock my world, but I thought, yeah, solid performance, Debbie Harry. Well done.
She done good.
I was happy with that.
There are many strings to her bow.
I'm just looking at my very first note, which is the sentence, slowly and painfully ease yourself into consciousness. And I was like, same, hard same, every single morning, same. Except I don't get a video delivered to my door every evening to put a timer on.
But
Does that not...
you do have three Alexas in your house. Is it just me, or did Cronenberg predict Alexa and Siri and whatever else, like...
I'm just going to say right now, I'm really glad I'm wearing headphones.
Oh, okay.
They've all sprung to life.
Because you...
Oh.
Yeah.
How about if I yell it?
I'm not allowed to say that name. She must not be named.
I mean,
because she'll wake up and tell me off, or tell me what my notifications are.
let's face it, she's listening anyway.
Oh God. If you ask if they are, they're like, no, we send packets of information back every 2.1 seconds, but we're definitely not listening.
Sure.
Unless you tell us to. Yeah, all right then, you weirdo. What I found myself doing like throughout this film was noting down things that I thought would be potentially relevant.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Potentially interesting.
Because you just sort of suspected that there would be deeper meanings to everything straight off the bat?
Kind of. I don't know if it was a bit of a kickback from like watching Ari Aster last week. But I've now fallen down this rabbit hole where I'm like, everything has meaning. Everything is important. A director's vision is all encompassing. And it felt very much like Cronenberg was going to be one of those kind of people. And there were some things which I wrote down, which I then went on to go, see, I can pick that up. But there was also a lot of stuff which went absolutely
Oh,
nothing.
really? Well, It's interesting you say that because I kind of did the same thing. I was on the lookout. But there are some things that I did a bit of research about after the fact that I've kind of retroactively applied meaning to. So I'd be interested if any of your things are the same things.
Okay, I guess that we'll get on, like, as we sort of wheedle our way through the film, we can... Yeah, okay, cool. Is Max Wren, in your view, the most disgusting man in the world, or is he just kind of like a snapshot of what bachelors are like?
I don't think he's representative of all bachelors, no. I think his apartment, particularly his kitchen, is disgusting.
Oh my god. Actually, nobody in this film has like any sense of hygiene apart from maybe Bridie.
Were times different? I mean, it's...
times were more disgusting. Apparently. Like, just absolutely gross.
But I feel like it's not necessarily a bachelor thing. It's not necessarily an 80s thing. What I think is, it's a Cronenberg thing.
Is Cronenberg a scummer?
Maybe. Or I feel like he's just got a knack of like filming things in kind of a grimy way. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Grimy is as grimy does, though, man.
I think attest to his personal hygiene.
I think his set dressers were like, how should we make this room? And he was like, oh, just make it look like, I don't know, my living room or something. And they were like, oh, God, really? Again?
Maybe it was his living room.
And the stylistic choices are interesting. Right, what? Okay.
So Max Wren.
Okay.
Maximum Wren.
Yes, to give him his full name.
Oh, God. In the sub...
Okay.
Yes.
He's a sleazebag. I'm going to come back to that in a second.
He's a huge misogynist.
Is there anything in this film that says what year it's meant to be set in or what time it's meant to be set in? Because
I don't know.
It's got this really interesting aesthetic, which is clearly like neo 1980s.
Now you've said it, I know exactly what you mean, but it hadn't even occurred to me until you just said those words. Like, to me, I just sort of assumed, because I mean, the technology
because
is
you've still got the CRT screen.
Yeah.
Still got like cathode ray tubes. But then, and VHS, obviously, but
it's almost
all of the talk, all of the wording is like, we're in the future, and they've got like a church, they got like a mission for
it's almost like
and...
the dystopian version of the 80s.
Yeah,
like it's
got this weird kind of anachronism that actually in a lot of scenes with all of the disgusting sort of detritus hanging around and like people still smoking inside and all of the like weird shadows and grime and stuff around, it makes it really kind of film noir.
Yeah,
but in a cheap tacky 80s way.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I wondered if that's why you'd chosen this one, because this to me sort of sits in the realm of films like Blade Runner. Obviously, it's not nearly as... The vision is very different. And aesthetically, it's very different. But it sits within that kind of pocket of sci-fi, somewhat futuristic horror that seems to be your kind of bread and butter. And interestingly, they should have come out the same year, because this was actually... It wasn't released till 83, but it was made in 81.
Oh, okay. I mean, actually, I knew very little about this film.
Okay.
I knew it was sort of like sci-fi horror, I guess. I didn't realise it would have that aesthetic.
Okay.
Or that kind of like dystopian point to it. Like, I thought it would be set in the 80s. Yeah,
to be honest, that was my reading of it, was that it was set in the 80s. It's just like the sci-fi horror version of the 80s.
Is it like Darkest Timeline 80s?
Potentially.
It's almost...
I mean...
Sorry.
Let's not forget that it's not. It's North America, so maybe that's just what Canada was like in the 80s. Who knows?
It's almost kind of doing the thing that Children of Men did, in that it's taking the technology of the day and sort of projecting that, you know, X amount of years in the future. Obviously, it's still, as far as we know, set in the 80s, but you see what I mean? Like, Children of Men is set in the future, but it reads almost as if we've kind of reached our technological peak when it was released. And, you know, it's almost as if it kind of does that sort of thing.
God, can you imagine if that was true? We'd all still be playing Snake.
It's a great game.
It's a classic. I can't lie.
I spent many hours playing Snake. Which is interesting from the point of view that Cronenberg was clearly kind of making a statement about how technology, as it progresses, is going to take over people. Like, it was quite prophetic, this film. So the idea that like we might have reached our technological peak with VHS, although I know many people who would attest to that, and who would agree that we have indeed reached our technological peak with VHS. But I find that an interesting kind of dialectic. On one hand, you've got our peak of knowledge, and on the other hand, you've got the prophecy that it can only get worse.
Yeah. Actually, one of the first notes that I made was that it's incredible that we're still having the same conversations almost 40 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And actually kind of depressing at how little's changed. Like, I don't know.
Well, there's always
and I think...
there's always a scapegoat, isn't there? If it's not radio's going to ruin it, it's TV's going to ruin it, it's, you know, the internet's going to ruin it. Like, there's always something to blame society's evils on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from a more scientific standpoint at the moment, we've got it with, like, 5G networks and wireless networks. People are... I understand that, like, the whole situation is a massive bone of contention, but people are genuinely worried that these waves are going to cause, like, irreversible damage to people.
Yeah. I mean, even more topical, the whole COVID conspiracy surrounding 5G.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bit more science based in terms of, like, irradiating radio frequencies, because they've been listed as a potential carcinogen. They've been listed as a 2 classification by the ARC. But people want it to be pushed up to, like, probable carcinogen, which has, like, dramatic ramifications across the world in terms of schools and nurseries and stuff that have Wi-Fi capabilities.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if it turns out that, I don't know, hyperbole, but if it turns out that, like, this is the next, you know, smoking crisis, where we suddenly realise 40 years down the line that actually this thing that we've been pushing into the public and advertising for years actually causes cancer.
Yeah, it's killing people en masse.
Yeah, then you don't really want to be pumping that into schools.
Yeah. I find that interesting, actually, that despite, obviously, Cronenberg came at that line of thinking from a very sci-fi slant, but otherwise...
It's very based in reality, though.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the genius of the film. That is why it's so terrifying.
Yeah.
And why it's still scary.
Yeah, because it's still completely relevant. There's a lot of parallels that can be drawn, because I feel like people will always kind of act in the same way, irrespective of the subject.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I say people very much as, like, a general public will be split in 2 different camps, and those camps will be... But that, you know, that's why psychology works, because people, you know, you can pretty much guess how people are going to act about various subjects. But
yeah.
Anyway, Max Wren likes a bit of telly.
Don't we all? Perhaps not as much as he does, which we'll get to.
I mean, I can take it or leave it, to be honest. He starts off watching a video called Samurai Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very tasteful porno.
I mean, is it a bit... I'm not questioning the taste of it. I mean, there is a small geisha doll, and then, oh, that's a dick. Oh, it's definitely a dick. But is it a little bit racist?
Oh, almost certainly.
I was like,
But you were talking about trying to find meaning in everything. Literally, I was sat there watching this going, samurais are known for having two swords. Swords are very phallic, aren't they? He's all about sex organs.
I mean, to be fair, later on we will come to find out that, yes, he is all about genitals. But yeah, Samurai Dreams was, it was too soft for him.
It was. Not enough actual snuff going on.
No, not enough debauchery and murder. There was just a blurred image of somebody wanking behind a screen. Which, seems to be fair, in terms of porn, is that porn? Is it?
Probably not by today's standards. I can't imagine, the extremes that some porn goes to, I can't imagine anybody getting their rocks off. But again...
Do you think in the early 80s that was incredibly risque?
But I mean, I guess that's... Perhaps it was intentionally so softcore to dichotomise, or to differentiate between that and... Videodrome.
Yeah. Well, what he sees next, which is, so he's got this surreptitious, clandestine arrangement with a guy who he apparently just picked up off the street, called Harlan, who works from a building that, I'll be honest, has never had a risk assessment done.
No. He looks like the guy that is in every 80s movie. Every 80s movie that's ever been made has a guy that looks like Harlan in it.
Yeah, he is the tech guy who probably knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that you should probably listen to, that guy. And nobody ever does. I did note that he was very creepy. That might be the serial killer glasses, though.
Potentially. They don't do anyone any favours.
More than that, it might be at the end of the first scene that you meet him in, he eats a sheet of paper.
Not the actions of a perfectly sane man, no.
No, and although weirdly, I was like, that's what I would have done.
I'm not saying anything.
I will reiterate, not the actions of a sane person.
If somebody went, get rid of this bit of paper right now, I've been like, well, guess I'm eating it. But Harlan intercepts a scrambled signal and shows Max Videodrome. Which honestly, to me, looks very tame, but I think I've seen far too much new wave French extremist cinema.
Oh, there's no going back from that.
No, there's absolutely not. So it just, they were pulling a woman around a bit, and there was a wall.
It was no martyrs.
Something electrified wall, something.
What, it's like a clay wall.
Wet clay?
Yeah.
Ugh. When he said that, were you not like, oh, God, well, that's disgusting?
I was kind of trying to figure out why, because I'm not very mathematically or scientifically brained. That is not my forte. Is it because it conducts, or... I don't...
Honestly, I don't know.
Or is it just literally because it's kind of skeevy and it just fits the aesthetic? It's a bit gross.
He said, I think it's electrified.
Oh, right. So is it because it conducts electricity then?
I guess so. I mean, you can earth electricity and it disperses into the earth. So if you have a finite amount of it, it might conduct. I don't know.
I don't think
it
it's that important
like a
in the
very
grand
weird
scheme.
thing. Couldn't they have had like a slimy metal wall and then it still would have been gross, but you would have known the science behind it?
I mean, it does raise questions on how they kept the wall wet. Like clay dries, right?
Yeah.
I love that that's what you're taking issue with so far.
I want to know why nobody's drawn a dick in it yet.
You don't know that nobody's drawn a dick in it.
You see a full shot of that wall. There is no penis.
Somebody
No
may
cock
have
and
drawn a dick
balls.
in it, and then somebody may have gone, "Oi, Kevin, we've told you about this," and then they smoothed it out again.
And then tended to it like it was a Zen garden.
Yes. I believe that's in the outtakes.
There's just a tiny rake.
Yeah,
Side of it.
absolutely. To get rid of the dicks.
Or maybe that.
It was. I have a rake to get rid of dicks.
They just recreate the scene from Ghost, right?
Oh.
But with dicks?
I mean, with clay.
Oh. No, I'm imagining the scene with dicks now.
I'm sure there's a porn version out there.
Oh my.
You know I'm going to Google that later.
Oh, have you seen the one where they put a cat in there instead? Instead of, was it Demi Moore?
Maybe I'll Google
No,
that
who was it?
instead.
They put a black cat in her place. So Patrick Swayze's just like caressing this cat and making a pot with it.
I mean, that sounds wholesome.
It's on point. It is amazing.
Can we I was just about to say, like, the next notable thing that I've written down is the TV appearance. The interview where he meets Debbie Harry.
Absolutely. So you first meet Debbie Harry and you you meet Brian Oblivion,
who feels the need to explain that Oblivion isn't his given name.
He says, "That's my television name," and underneath I've written, "said Mr. Television."
But you say that he felt the need to explain it, but they refer to his daughter as Bianca Oblivion, which implies that either it's her legal given name or she's had it changed.
Or that's just what people call her.
Which,
Phil.
I mean, presumably if it's a TV name, your daughter wouldn't inherit it, right?
You don't know.
Maybe that's her TV name.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I haven't seen her on TV though.
You can literally name your kid anything when you pop it out. You don't have to give it your last name.
I guess, fair point.
You know that, right? You could have called Evie like anything. You could have called her like Boots McGinty.
Why didn't you?
Yeah, like now I'm hearing this.
A like missed opportunity.
Now I'm hearing this.
And you went with Taberner. I loved the entirety of this interview, because not only when Brian Oblivion is trying to look at Max Wren to see what he's saying, he does that
God.
thing where he tries to like look out of the TV at him. Like he's trying to see around the corner of the telly.
Which makes even less fucking sense when you learn much
you're
further
in the
on.
TV.
No, but much further on in the film when you learn that all of his appearances were
it's all-
pre-recorded
yeah.
VHS.
Pre-recorded. So it's just assumed that people were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, his daughter says at one point, "Oh, he deals in monologues." Why the fuck is he on a chat show on television then?
Yeah, a bit of give and take involved there.
He's just going to monologue the shit out of it. Also, when she said, "Oh, he deals in monologues," I was like, I know a lot of men like that.
The mansplainers.
Well, actually. But yeah, I absolutely love this conversation. The phrase, "Then why did you wear that dress?"
Oh my god. The sheer amount of misogyny and actual sexual misconduct in this film
right?
is
It
insane.
rife.
Just
I just
slapping receptionists on the arse willy-nilly.
Oh my god! Hopefully not with this willy-nilly. But when she's like, "What do you mean? Why did I wear this dress?" And he's like, "Well, it's red," and then just goes, "I want to go out for dinner. Do you want to go out for dinner? Could we go out for a drink? I love you." And you've got Brian Oblivion going, "This is my television name." Brilliant! And every single part of it was a complete disaster. And the woman who's running the
interview
basically just goes, "So, Max Wren, you're a piece of shit, aren't you?"
I mean, asking the question that we're all thinking, let's be fair.
And he's like, "Yeah."
I'm just amazed that his seduction of Debbie Harry was successful.
You've got a dress on and it's red. Do you want to fuck?
Yes.
It is the precursor to nice shoes, wanna fuck.
Yeah, basically.
Red dress, wanna fuck.
Yeah, that's the 80s version.
Like, I felt a little bit dirty saying that out loud.
I think you should change your Instagram bio to that now, in quote marks.
What, red dress, wanna fuck? Just every single week I need a new Instagram bio. Last week's could have been suns out, lungs out. Oh, fucking hell, Rosie. My next note I don't really understand, but I think someone's going to explain it for me. I've just written coffee and snuff.
Coffee and snuff?
Is this...
That sounds like the weirdest hipster cafe of all time.
I mean... Yeah.
I would definitely go there.
To be fair, my first note reads pizza and porn. So maybe we're on the same sort of lines.
My first note is literally just the words Rick Baker in capital letters.
Actually...
Some Rick Baker makeup. That was mine. I should have a note bingo.
Rick Baker, my note also reads Rick Baker, exclamation mark.
Yes.
Oh, actually, I realise what coffee and stuff means, but just before we get onto that, that's my television name, right? When Brian Oblivion said that, did anybody else think that? Because he said everybody's got a television name. Max Wren should definitely be Max Headroom.
Can you imagine? But there can be only one. They're like the Highlander.
Who came first?
That was a roller coaster.
That was emotionally taxing. I'm very tired.
When was Max Headroom? I don't know. Wasn't that? It was Matt Frewer who. Wait, is he also Canadian? Am I imagining this? I don't know.
I believe
is it the same guy?
He's Canadian. Yeah.
Is it the same universe?
Is he?
I think so.
I'm claiming canon that it's the same universe, and Max Wren, right at the end, turns into Max Headroom.
Max Headroom came after. How the fuck do I know these things? Max Headroom came after Videodrome.
See, there you go. I stan Max Wren becoming Max Headroom.
It all makes sense.
We'll find a way to tie that theory together.
That is your job. Coffee and Snuff, they have their first date, which is literally drinking coffee and watching snuff films.
Yeah.
They start watching Videodrome.
There was a lot more James Woods bum than I cared to see.
A whole bunch more. And Debbie Harry's like, "Oh yeah, I like it rough. I like it when you cause me pain. Pierce my ears, baby."
That was so weird.
What? And he's like, the tiniest bit of blood on my tongue. So deviant. I love how they tried to capture the essence of, like, real deviance and, like, BDSM and pain and stuff by the cutest, fluffiest way that they possibly could. Just pierce somebody's ears and then brush the needle on our tongue. And then, just overwhelmed by passion.
Well, I wonder how much, like, studio interference there was. I know there were, like, budgetary issues, so I don't know how much they could physically do or get away with. Because I believe, like, wasn't it Universal that put the film out? And they had issues. And I think it was, like, I don't know if it's still to date, but at the time was certainly Cronenberg's biggest budget film.
I think it is Universal, because I know that it was Universal that were going to remake it.
Oh, really? Oh, fuck. That would have been awful.
In 2012.
Ugh.
They were going to remake it. Directed by... I can remember this.
Interesting.
I can do this.
I'm curious. I'm waiting on tenterhooks.
Shut up. Berg?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that a director?
You think of
We'll find out.
Cronenberg?
Adam Berg.
There is a director called Adam Berg.
David Adam Berg.
Oh, yeah. It says known for Videodrome. No, you're not.
I think they started making it and then they shelved it.
Yeah, there's still a listing on IMDb.
On IMDb,
in development.
it's in production. Yeah. I think it could be made into a really, really awesome film if it wasn't made by a massive film company.
Yeah, I mean, the guy who was set to write it has got some fucking turkeys to his name.
Go on then.
Oh dear.
Reindeer Games. He did a bunch of the Ring American
is that
remakes.
Aaron Kruger?
Yeah, a bunch of Transformers movies. Ghost in the Shell remake. Ugh. Yeah, it's not looking good, man.
Did he do Hide and Seek, the one with Robert De Niro?
Oh, potentially.
Is it just Robert De Niro playing hide and seek?
That would have been... I would watch that.
I am well up for watching.
Yeah, they would get my money. I'm not gonna lie.
Can we take a little moment with the just prior to the lots and lots of Max Renbum that we didn't need to see.
Yep.
Prior to the disgusting Foley work in terms of their kissing noises.
You know my feelings on that.
It literally sounded like somebody fist fucking a fish. It was fucking awful. That was the worst. She works for an emotional rescue centre as like telephone, like a radio, like Frasier.
Mm-hmm.
She's like Debbie Harry is Frasier in this film.
Yeah,
and she's literally talking to this woman having a breakdown, just going, "You're going insane,"
but calling her lover.
"You're going crazy, you sexy bitch."
Yeah, it's like this is not appropriate. Did you take the Hippocratic Oath? What qualifications do you have?
Do no harm, motherfucker.
Maybe it doesn't extend to psychological harm. It's fine. I do want to come back to that later, though, actually.
She's going, "Oh, this woman's like, oh, I'm losing my mind." She's like, "You're going crazy. You need help. Will you call this place where you can give us all your money?" "Yeah, I'll do that." "Yeah, okay then, lover." And then just hangs up on her.
Yeah. That was therapy in the 80s.
And then we've got that evening with all the bums.
Many bums.
He introduces her to the snuff film, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I like this." And he's like, "Well, it's not exactly sex." And when he said that, I was like, "Well," and she says, "Oh, says who?" And I was like, "Science." Science literally dictates that what you are watching on that screen right now isn't sex.
Even in the loosest definition.
Like, there is none of the...
No finger donut going on.
No pokey pokey.
Finger donut. That's gross. That's horrendous.
Finger donut?
That's what you take issue with. We've come this far.
I mean, honestly, Phil, sex is gross and disgusting. So I don't know why anyone does it. My favourite character is introduced to the...
Is it Masha?
Film. Fucking Masha, I love her.
She's my favourite.
I have written, "This leopard lady is Russian Sarah in 30 years.
Oh, fuck you! But also accurate.
You just know that Masha's got a Persian cat. You fucking know she does. It's like seconds previous to that, when they're having sex, they're in the red room. Mm-hmm. I did write down, I noted all the red things throughout the film. Because it's red, hits on red lady. It's kind of on the nose, and it's really obviously Cronenberg-y in the sense that he's clearly talking about, like, you know, fiery and passion and evil and
danger as well.
Like danger, that kind of apposematism. But all throughout the film, there is red stuff. Mm-hmm. Stuff just gets more and more red as you go on. Yeah. So, obviously, Debbie Harry is the first sort of properly red thing that you see. But all throughout Max's flat, there are loads of, like, red ornaments.
Yeah.
And there's red in the posters. Everything's very, like, monochrome in his flat, apart from all the red ornaments. Kind of suggesting that, like, this danger and, like, evil has been within his life for some time, and it's kind of just insidiously, like,
ramping up,
found its way into his life. Like, it's just dotted around. It's not, none of them are necessarily, like, placed anywhere. It's just, like, kibble that's built up. He had some really interesting stuff on the walls.
Interesting is one word, yes.
Like Hitler dressed as ballerina.
That's one of my notes is like Hitler ballerina.
That was definitely something. He had a picture of an astronaut with what looks like a scanned picture of a thumb holding a Polaroid of the moon stuck over it. A giant QR magic eye, like a giant QR code. And I was wondering if that was, like, Cronenberg's attempt at being like, oh, it's the future.
Probably. I mean, he predicted, like, a shit ton of stuff. I would argue that he also predicted reality TV.
Oh, yeah.
He's prophetic. Okay. We stan a prophetic director.
Was there anything else that he had written? He's written lots of stuff.
Can we
on the walls?
Can we accelerate?
We'll get back to red stuff. We'll get back to red stuff. Yes, we absolutely can.
Can we accelerate a little bit to one of the major first instances of his hallucinations manifesting, Max's hallucinations after having seen Videodrome, learning briefly about
I was about to say Masha. They meet up later and she tells him, like, stay the fuck away, don't get messed up in that shit, it bad.
But then obviously later on finds out from Bianca Oblivion that her father watched Videodrome and it caused a malignant tumour.
Yeah.
Would you say? And then that in turn caused the hallucinations.
Yeah, and caused his brain to fuck up.
Yeah, and that's their version of mind control. That's how they get in people's heads, quite literally. And so the first sort of hallucination, the full kind of hallucination that he has, is he sees Debbie Harry on the TV after she has sort of become a bit obsessed with Videodrome and gone to, I believe it's Pittsburgh, to audition.
Yeah, she says she's going away for 2 weeks.
And he sees her on the TV. And that fucking iconic moment that is referenced so much, where he puts his head inside, like, penetrates the TV with his head.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that has head penetrating mouth. Yeah.
But the whole structure is so clever, because apparently, like, they built this TV set and had, I think it was like air pockets that were operated from a keyboard to make it look like it was undulating, like to mimic the breath of a human. I know. And for the screen was sort of made of like dental dam material.
Oh, okay.
Like stretchy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they just projected the image on so that he was able to like manipulate it with his head, basically. I thought that was so clever.
Yeah, that was, it's an amazing scene. I mean, is that the video where he watches Brian Oblivion being killed first? It's 8 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking about muting my mic.
We're all clapping for the NHS. Is that the video where Brian Oblivion gets killed? Or
Oh, I can't remember. The timeline's a bit muddled in my head now.
Yeah.
Because my notes are a little bit confused at this point.
Bianca refers to the people at the cathode ray mission, which is this like charity mission that he owns, and he has the belief that if you show people who don't have any screen time television, then it will like fill them up somehow in a very kind of spiritual way.
Well, I think it's one of many instances of like alluding to it being an analogy for religion.
Yeah.
Or spirituality, rather. There were a number of points where I kind of went back and forth as to whether it was supposed to be a metaphor for religion or for politics. And I'm still not sure, and I think I decided a bit of both.
Yeah, it can be both. It can totally be both, I think.
Yeah, because there's a lot that touches on religion. There's a scene towards the end, which we'll get to, because that, again, is very iconic. But the guy who runs the optical company is up on the stage at, like, the Spectacle Expo. And it looks like the stage itself looks like something where a preacher would stand to give a sermon.
Yeah, it does. It looks like what you'd see in a kind of mega church, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I noted down that, unless I've misinterpreted it, it looked like Professor Oblivion's room was just full of religious iconography and statues and stuff.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was, yeah. I think that actually, when you say you don't know if it's a sort of metaphor for religion or politics, I think that either side of it is represented by either side of it. So with Brian Oblivion and the cathode ray mission, you've got church, and with spectacular optical and Mr. Convex, you've got state. The two literally fighting against each other at the end,
and should never mix.
Yeah. So yes, it is after that he watches a video. Brian Oblivion explains that Videodrome has killed him, and he isn't sure what is hallucination or what's real. Stuff starts to get a bit fucking trippy, and by this point Max Headroom has got himself a gun, and for some reason just like scratching his stomach with it.
Oh yeah, this is the stomach vag moment.
Stomach vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon I've got about half a page of notes, which is just going, stomach vagina, it looks like a vagina, stomach vagina.
Yeah. In what is the most heavy-handed penetration metaphor of all time.
A gun in your vagina.
But that's apparently, obviously, that's the first of like several scenes where we see him insert a videotape into his stomach, isn't it?
He doesn't insert a videotape into his stomach. That's when he puts the gun inside his stomach.
Oh, okay.
This is when he's sat in front of the TV, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's watching Mr. Television.
To give him his full
the
name.
inventor of the television.
Yeah, Mr. Television, that guy. Yeah, he
Is Mr. Television Mike TV from Willy Wonka?
It must be.
Mr. Television is Mike TV. Max Wren is Max Headroom. Bridie is Polly from 4B Towers.
This is becoming really fucked up.
And Mr. Convex, Mr. Convex, who we meet next, is the smoking man from the X-Files.
Yes, 100%. Can we talk about the glasses that company sells?
Oh my god. Those glasses he ends up kind of putting on and smirking to himself and then just leaves on for like the rest of the scene.
Well, it's the comment that Mr.
You
Convex
need
says
something more spidery.
Which just like whose face would those glasses compliment? You know in snooker players when they have to get really low to the table, it looks like those glasses that snooker players would wear. Do you know what I mean? As if it weren't obvious enough that company was a front.
Looks like he put them on upside down.
It does.
There's there's a really interesting story. I know what I want to say.
That's good. That's step one.
Right, so Spectacular Optical, you go on to find out that they make Videodrome.
And also missiles. Let's not forget that.
And also missiles. But they very much work on the principle that, like, Videodrome is amazing, and it's going to bring a lot of people a lot of happiness, and they'll become absolutely, like, entrenched with it, and they won't be able to take their eyes away. They won't be able to stop watching it. There's a book by Kurt Vonnegut. It's actually a short story in Welcome to the Monkey House. It's called The UFO Question.
Welcome to the Monkey Piece.
Welcome to the Monkey Piece. That's what you should have called it. Welcome to the Monkey Piece. But it's a book called The UFO Question.
Isn't that the guy from
Hook? Why are you like this? I love that you interrupted twice in order to make that mediocre joke.
Rufio. Sorry, what?
Rufio.
So the Rufio question.
The Rufio Question in Welcome to the Monkey Piece. Basically, a scientist creates and mass produces a box. It's a box that you stare into and you can't look away from it. And it provides, and I quote, happiness by the kilowatt.
Oh, that sounds really familiar.
That's
I know
the
that
title of
phrase.
an Alexis on Fire track.
Oh, shit. Maybe that's why I know that.
Yeah, it is Alexis on Fire, I'm sure.
Who for years I called
Green, anyway.
Alex is on fire.
Alex is on fire. Yes, absolutely correct. Or is it? It might be City in Colour. Either way, it's Dallas Green. But yeah, that was basically an allegory for, like, television, like a light box bringing happiness. But that all goes fucking wrong, and people end up in, like, this state of malaise and not knowing what's real and what's outside of reality and stuff. And, like, just the further this film went on, the more it kind of made me think of that short story, and I was like, I wonder if that was, like, quite a heavy influence on this, actually.
Well, I think he took inspiration from quite a few places, because
me.
The entire storyline mirrors that of the Manchurian Candidate as well.
Oh, okay. See, no knowledge of that. Haven't seen it. Don't know anything about it. Remember.
And also the character of Mr. Television.
Mr. Television, yes.
Oblivion himself, was based on...
Ming the Merciless.
No. Not what I was going to say. Apparently it's a really famous... I'm not sure of his exact title, but he's somebody that taught David Cronenberg at university.
Oh.
And he's quite famous within his field and very well respected.
Does he just send people monologues as well?
Potentially.
What a shitty thing to say
Deals and
about somebody who
monologues.
taught you. Like, I've based this character around somebody who formed my views on, like, and my skills on directing. It's a guy who just sends people videos because he doesn't actually want to listen to a fucking thing anyone says.
But to be honest, it made me view that character in a different way, because I feel like it was supposed to be quite an affectionate portrayal, because it was somebody that David Cronenberg really respected. So it put a different spin on that character for me, because obviously you find out later that he was kind of in on the inception of Videodrome.
Yeah, I guess.
But originally had positive intentions for it.
I guess that they do portray him as being, like, a very loving and caring father. In that, Bianca clearly dotes on her father and has, like, devoted her life to...
She's changed her name, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. It was Bianca Del Rio. But she's, like, devoted her life to the upkeep of, like, these thousands of VHS that he recorded, to, I don't know, tell people what he thought of them, I guess. yeah, like her act of love for him shows a relationship that they used to have, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that respect, yeah. Why have I written down a literal helmet? Oh, they're recording his thoughts. Okay.
In another sexual metaphor, a
literal helmet. And it's all veiny as well. This machine that they use to record his hallucinations.
Yeah, apparently that wasn't James Woods. David Cronenberg had to double for him because James Woods was scared that he was going to get electrocuted.
Oh, come on!
So it was actually Cronenberg in the helmet.
Cronenberg's a helmet.
I'll tell him.
Are you gonna?
I might.
You won't.
Don't test me.
You are far too lazy.
Dear Mr. Cronenberg. You'll never guess.
My friend Rosie said that you were a literal helmet.
P.S. Come on the
show. Where she can offend you some more.
Insult you further.
Can't wait to hear from you. Sarah, the one that really likes you. Red light room again when he's having his hallucinations. Red, everything red. All the danger is coming back up again. He ends up whipping a TV
that he thinks
is Debbie Harry,
Debbie
but it's
Harry.
actually Masha.
Yes.
But Masha dressed in red. So because she went and found out about a Videodrome, she's now intrinsically linked to it. And she is part of the danger.
Yes.
Yes. And I wrote...
I love that we're all working this out in real time.
And I wrote, oh, she did. And then it also... she's not got Masha luck.
Oh, no.
Max Headroom is absolutely convinced that she is dead in his bed. Masha, oh, that'd be horrible.
Well, having a dead person in your bed? I mean, yes, it would be.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't be great.
Like, I wasn't saying it as some kind of epiphany. Like, obviously it would be horrible.
Like a dead anything in your bed would be, you know, a reasonably unpleasant start to the day.
Harlan turns up to take photos and is like, no, patron.
When he said that, I was just like, the tequila?
It is without doubt the one notable thing that is really like forced into this film is the amount of times Harlan says, patron.
That's the only thing you take issue with in terms of reality.
Like, yeah.
It's unrealistic that he would say
Everything
that.
else has this kind of, like, believable dystopia about it, but I refuse to believe that in the darkest timeline dystopian 1980s, some nerd who likes unscrambling radio signals is going to walk around calling people patron. Like, no.
I think that's exactly what a nerd would do, because they think it would make them
Phil.
cool. But they'd be incorrect.
What would you call them?
If you were a nerd in the 1980s.
Would you say patron? Or would you say comrade?
It's just between those two.
No other choices.
No other options.
I mean, I suspect saying comrade would probably put me in some deep shit in the 80s. So.
Me old buddy, my pal.
That one.
Meow, Macca.
He's not a Cockney street urchin.
Oh, he's not Danny Dyer, okay.
Oh, what, me old... hey! Oh, I love it when you say that. What, darling? But then, oh my god, shit gets real. You find out that Harlan is a rat bastard.
He sure is.
I wrote in letters bigger than anything else, Harlan, no.
Is that what broke your heart?
Yeah.
It tipped you over.
There's never been Videodrome. What? What have I been watching? No such thing. Was never broadcast. Oh my god. And Harlan drops a lot of truth bombs about Channel 83 and how it's like
shit gets
a
pretty real
cesspit of stuff. And when Smoking Man's like, this is the best reason for anything ever, and I'm going to use it for every excuse I ever have. Smoking Man is like, why'd you watch this shit? Why'd you do it? And Max's reaction is literally to go, business reasons. Brilliant. You don't need to elaborate further on that. Just assume that everyone knows what you're talking about. Business reasons. Great.
Can we just take a quick second to acknowledge the fact that there's a production company called Channel 83?
I wrote down Channel 83 because I was like, they keep on saying it's got to have some kind of meaning.
Well, no, it exists. Like they just put out Bliss, which I talked about on one of their minisodes.
So they've named themselves after.
They've referenced Videodrome.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Chef kiss.
I believe.
Excelente.
Anyway.
Oh, that's very cool. I like that. That's a nice little Easter egg. Goop gun. Goop gun comes out of the stomach vag, and is covered in goop. And then what I think is one of my favourite bits of like FX animatronics that I've seen in a very long time.
The gun osmosis.
Yeah, the gun osmosis into the hand
thing. Yeah, that's
with like the spikes going through his hand and into his arm and stuff. It all looks a little bit Geigery.
It does,
And actually, they obviously, when they first do the animatronics, it's a model. But they actually build these prosthetics around his hand to look like it does, so he can like move it and stretch it. And like, oh, it was amazing. Like, Rick Baker did an incredible job on that.
What I find really interesting, two things off the back of that. Because obviously after that point it kind of
shit gets weird, man.
Continues to become a part of him to the point where it literally becomes an actual flesh gun.
An actual arm dick.
Not the euphemism. But David Cronenberg's obviously got a thing about stuff like that, because in Existenz, which I believe was in the late 90s, I haven't seen it for a long time, but they make a gun from parts of like people.
Do they all just have dicks for arms?
Not in the version I watched. But he's got a thing about
dicks?
Like just sort of mixing human anatomy with like I don't know, do you know what I mean?
That kind of like Bionic Man, but like the wrong way round.
Yeah.
So like biomechanical symbiosis. Yeah, no, I absolutely get what you mean. Like, yeah, a kind of metamorphosis.
Yeah, but what I find really interesting is towards the end of the film, like obviously the gun has become part of him now, and he goes to the office where he works in order to dispatch the people who work there,
Moses
shall we say?
And Rafe.
Yeah. But when you see him pull the gun out, it's not a part of his hand. It's just him holding a gun. So it kind of brings into question what, if any, of what we're seeing is real.
Well, exactly, yeah. Because the fact that he pulls out the gun and it is just a gun, but we're seeing it from Moses or Rafe's point of view, because those shots are a first-person shot of like having a gun pointed at you and the trigger being pulled.
Yeah.
So it's very obviously like shot from their eyes, and they are not hallucinating, and they just see a man with a gun.
Yeah.
Whereas he obviously has a vagine in his torso and a dick for a hand. Like, fucking hell.
I thought it was quite funny. Whenever there was like a VHS tape inserted into the stomach vag, apparently they weren't VHS tapes, they were Betamax, because full VHS tapes wouldn't fit. They didn't make it big enough.
That's what she said. It's so big. He shoots Moses and Rafe. He like runs away. Almost runs into like a comedy, two guys crossing the road with a glass door, which I liked. And he goes to the opticians, because when you've just killed two people, you really need to work out what your pupillary distance is.
Yes.
It's very important. Did anybody else... So he goes in looking for people to kill, obviously. But when he went into the opticians, was anyone else like, put on a pair of glasses as a disguise?
They'll never know.
That's how it works, right? Pick something spidery. He... Oh, my timelines are getting mixed up again. There's so much here. He goes to the cathode ray mission to kill Bianca, but Bianca like double crosses him and takes out the evil VHS and
she
puts in
effectively
a good
reprograms
one. Yeah,
him.
she puts in like a different VHS basically. She wipes over his original video, I guess.
Yeah, because because of her father, has some knowledge of Videodrome and how it works. So she's using that to get him on the opposing team.
On the side of religion. And then he starts speaking in terms of quite religious sort of, not iconography, but saying like, you know, long live the new flesh, that kind of thing. And it's all very sort of religion-y based. But yeah, then he goes back to... And when he's... so many words! I've got so much to say, I'm so sorry. But when he's talking to her and he's been reprogrammed, you can see there's a shot from the back of him looking at a TV, and it's the same TV that he sees Debbie Harry and people like that on, basically.
Yeah.
But you can see the light shining across the shadows on his back is giving him like red veins across his back that are like pulsing. So it's like Videodrome is coursing through him now, and he has become Videodrome.
He's assimilated.
And Bianca's saying that like TV is very intimate and it's very personal, and I think...
Well, yeah, it's a part of the whole message, isn't it? Like the scholarly people say, like, what you take away from TV isn't your perception of reality, it becomes your reality.
Yeah, basically. Like, and the idea that television is more reality than the things that are around us, because it's a much purer source of information, and it's a purer version of reality. Which I think is absolutely fascinating, and I kind of agree with, actually. Television and like, I don't know, theatre, cinema, television, any sort of visual media is very much a commentary on the human condition at the end of the day.
And it does become incorporated into your immediate reality.
But then having that kind of like concentrated and truncated down into like a condensed reality that is like a pill that you take. And that can be really addictive, because you kind of get all the stimulation that you'd get from actual reality just condensed down into like an hour and a half. And yeah, like that was super interesting. So yeah, then he goes to the opticians and he goes to find Harlan, who is working in line with Smoking Man, and manages to turn his hand into a bomb. Is that what he does?
Which, effectively, he puts his hand into the stomach vagina, and when it emerges, I wasn't sure what was going on the first time I saw that.
So, like, the VHS has fused with his hand?
Yeah.
I guess.
But props to the effects team yet again, because the bloodied stomach.
Oh god, it was disgusting.
Rad.
Yeah, no, it was very, very cool. I put amazing FX. Yeah, so cool. I love it.
Because apparently it was Rick Baker and a team of like predominantly like 20-year-olds, really young kind of intern age people, and he did it straight off the back of American Werewolf in London.
Did you know that Rick Baker said that his proudest moment was working for Harry and the Hendersons?
Really?
like his favourite work was like from Harry and the Hendersons.
With a career like his. I mean, at least it wasn't the fun house. It could have been worse.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, Rick.
Jesus.
He goes to... We're nearing the end. He goes to the trade show. Where you see the Medici line, love comes in at the eye.
I hope not. You can go blind.
Right? Love comes in at the eye. Disgraceful. That's the dirtiest bit of this film. And he blasts away the people that he's meant to blast away. I have never seen a glasses expo which has like go-go dancers.
I've never seen a glasses expo.
I mean, it's same, but unless it...
That's not how I pictured them playing out.
No, unless it's some really kind of like raucous, like carry-on style people wearing the glasses.
That's what I expect.
And then taking them off and wiggling them around a bit and going, oh.
That's what I expect, some sort of like late 70s, early 80s, like either Tupperware or like some sort of shitty pyramid scheme, like some sort of Ponzi scheme expo to look like.
I also imagine the guy who's giving the keynote speech to come on wearing a pair of plastic glasses with like a nose and a moustache and then being like, no, just kidding, you guys. It's a funny joke. Oh, but really? Oh, no, I'm kidding. And then he's in a boat.
You've glossed over one of my favourite effects in this whole film.
Oh,
right.
What, the death of Smoking Guy.
It's so cool.
What does he turn into all brains? I don't.
Apparently it's right. So what I've read, apparently it's like an extension of the whole tumor element. So the gun is sort of infecting him with a cancer.
Right. So he just kind of
happening.
explodes into a massive tumor.
Tumors, yeah, effectively.
Oh, that'd be a horrible way to go.
It wouldn't be the greatest.
Oh, I wouldn't have shot him in the head then.
I mean, it looked like he was in a fair amount of discomfort in his final moments, if that makes you feel any better.
But just, he missed out. He missed out.
I don't know. I think it was fairly spectacular.
No, you guys, I'm kidding. No. Yeah, that was an astounding piece of FX, actually. And weirdly, the close-up shot of his head, when it was like split open, reminded me of Midsommar.
Yeah.
Like really almost the same shot.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Fuck that shit. And then, yes, he is in a boat. Why is he in a boat? Does anybody know?
I feel like you're asking the wrong questions.
And it seems like a custom-built boat for men who are alone and want to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's your answer.
It did make me ask if there was some kind of temporal element. Because it looks like he's been there before. He knows exactly where he's going. It's the same packet of cigarettes that he's been smoking all the way through the film, apart from it's now empty. It's also a red packet of cigarettes.
Yeah, of course.
All the bottles of booze are empty, have been drunk. There has been a fire. But it is all ashen. And he puts his hand in it, so it can't be that hot.
You don't know what his tolerance is. He might have asbestos hands.
He's got dicks for hands.
Well, yeah.
Can you dip those in hot ash?
I don't know, Dad. One. Couldn't possibly answer.
I haven't
that.
I'll be
tried.
honest. If I had a dick, I probably wouldn't dip it in hot ash. I'm gonna
That's fair.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and
It's not the first thing I try anyway.
no, peeing your name in the snow obviously is the first thing you'd try.
Or just standing to pee, I think would be cool.
Yeah, she-way.
But then I have to spend money on it. There's a whole separate element. Nah, it's fine. I'll just sit down. I'm quite lazy anyway.
A nice,
I like to sit.
a nice sit-down wee. So, but then you see Debbie the television.
Mm-hmm. Or Debbie Oblivion to give her TV
Don't
name.
fuck me up now, Sarah. I'm so close to the end. Debbie, the television.
Well, it's at this point you sort of realise that she's not been real this whole time. The entire time we've seen her, she's been a part of Videodrome.
Yeah, she is a part of Videodrome. And she says, "You can be one of us."
Yeah.
And prophesizes,
but
prophesizes exactly how he dies, which is what made me wonder if there was like a temporal sort of element to it, because
yeah, I think so.
she describes how he dies, but she shows it to him on a screen and like he recreates it precisely. So is it something that's actually already happened, and is this coming from like the consciousness of somebody who's already dead or already part of Videodrome?
Or is it literally, to go back to basics, is it the fact that the thing he's seen on TV has become his reality?
Yeah. And then
it's really clever.
She explodes into guts.
Which is phenomenally well done. Like, I literally written in my notes, the exploding entrails TV is a fucking moment.
Oh, yeah. Mood. Big mood.
Big 2020
Big
mood.
2020 mood. And then yeah, he's clearly having a psychotic break. By that point, her hair colour is red. So she is like fully within the realms of Videodrome. And then yeah, he commits the ultimate sacrifice to become the new flesh.
Yeah.
And to enter into a new state of being and consciousness. And
it's in fact, I read it as quite a bleak ending.
It is. I think he's very sad and alone by the end of it.
Yeah. But I mean, he was a piece of shit, so it's nothing less than he deserves.
Absolutely.
But it's a bit sad, you know.
I mean,
he was sort of semi-redeemed. Albeit through reprogramming.
Yeah, by somebody shoving a video into his vagina.
Yeah. So, kind of, the final point that I would like to make before we start to wrap up is obviously going back to the fact that we talked about, we were both sort of looking at it with a bit more of a finer tooth comb, trying to find meaning in things that might not be there. But one thing that kind of jumped out at me when I was thinking about this retroactively is the entire thing is broken down into the theme of duality.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And like screamingly everything being shades of grey, nothing being black and white, down to one of the softcore porn tapes is called Apollo and Dionysus. One was good, one was bad, but they were intertwined. You couldn't have one without the other. The spectacle company did charity work but also made missiles.
Even
nothing is completely evil and nothing is completely altruistic.
No, and even in
Debbie
terms
Harry's
of
character
having like samurai dreams as well, like the concept of samurai who are like warriors and fighting, and then you've got this whole like dreams and softness and light and yeah. No, I totally agree with you.
And like even Debbie Harry's character, who isn't essentially some sort of agony aunt, but also into sadomasochism. Like everybody has this duality, and I just found that really interesting. And the more I thought about it, the more you can apply it to almost everything that happens.
Professor Oblivion helps create a Videodrome, but then turns his back on it.
Yeah.
Well, it kills him.
Well, yeah.
The whole religion and politics thing again.
Yeah. I think
I
all in
just thought
all,
that was interesting.
no, I totally agree with you, and it's a very Cronenberg thing to do as well. I think he's very good at pointing out the duality between people and situations. I think that I'm kind of going to come full circle with how I feel about it and say that this is the most Cronenberg-y film I've ever seen.
Yeah, I would agree. It's peak Cronenberg.
We've taken it apart and we've looked at it with a magnifying glass, and do you know what? Really fucking Cronenberg-y.
To sum up,
I stand by what I said at the beginning. Phil, what was your takeaway?
That Cronenberg hates opticians.
But he wears glasses.
Do you think it's because somebody told him that he needed something more spidery? What does that mean? 8 arms?
I don't know.
Is it glasses with 8 arms?
Yes,
Must be
let's go with that.
It's the only possible explanation.
Specky 16 eyes. Yes, Phil, that can't have been your only takeaway.
No, like there's
I mean, it can.
I would be very surprised.
No, it kind of echoes a lot of what you've just said. It's definitely a film that is saying something. It's quite ahead of its time, I think.
Oh, massively.
You know, I don't know if you guys thought the same, but having that last shot be echoed in quick succession made me wonder whether it was a conscious effort to put a screen between him and, well, obviously between Max and the Videodrome, then show that screen between us and Max.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I definitely think that was intentional. Kind of like, now look at it from your point of view. You are the Videodrome. Yeah, no, totally.
And interestingly, almost every character, the first time we meet them, they're shown on a screen of some sort.
Yeah, Bridie is, Oblivion is, Bianca's not. Although, actually, throughout the film, she seems more grounded in reality than anyone else. So, yeah. Okay, guys.
It's got an interesting. It feels a little, in a way, technophobic, but I think that's only kind of something that is seen retrospectively. Looking back, it's like, oh, look at the evils of technology, but actually, at the time, it's no different from something like Unfriended, which is taking advantage of the horrors of the internet, in present day, which doesn't have that same. But I think I just kind of agree with what you guys have been saying. Really, it's all there's a lot of interest going on,
Yeah, and I'm still floored that Cronenberg managed to predict reality TV, Alexa, Siri, and smartphones. So,
He are a smart
well
man.
done, that
or
man.
he's from the future.
Oh, interesting.
Do you think, listeners, that Cronenberg is from the future? If you do, then let us know that you have listened this far into the podcast, because it is the end. And let us know if you think he is from the future, and if so, have you found any historical oldie-timey photos with him wearing a watch? And on that note, I'm gonna wrap things up for us. I'm gonna say thank you so much for listening. I feel like we've had a really good time discussing Videodrome. I think we've all had a bit of a blast, and I hope you do listening to it. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay spooky.
Bye-bye.
Bye.